what I get most enjoyment out of is seeing people come to pick up their orders with the excitement on their face, you know, oh, this is my first time, or I'm back for my 5th time, or whatever it is. It's just like everyone is excited and is enjoying what I'm putting out there, and it just makes you feel great.
I Am Consciously Curious, a podcast for those that are searching for meaning and fulfillment in their lives. My name is Victor Chan, and I'm on a mission to find out why people do what they do. I've interviewed white-collar to blue-collar, entrepreneurs to passion projects, and life is just too short to not produce meaningful work. Thanks for tuning in. Okay. Wow, we're live. It's 21st. Is it July 21st now?
21st, yeah.
It's almost August. Summer's flying by. I was telling you, Jake, earlier that I haven't podcasted in maybe 2.5, almost 3 months. It's going to feel like riding a bike. It's an honor to have you. You said it was your first interview today.
Yeah, honor to be here.
Holey Dough and Co. When I last talked to Hannah, whose episode is not out yet, from Tilly Bagels, I felt like there was a renaissance of bagels in Chicago. Do you feel like you're still in the middle of that renaissance? Yeah,
I mean, honestly, I think it's kind of at the beginning. Obviously, there's a lot of bagel shops in the city, but you ask around the city, you ask people, you know, there's still that desire for the bagel that's missing or more, because there's so much demand for bagels in the city, yet everybody is still clamoring that it's not a bagel city. And I think that, you know, more shops have been opening up over the last several years, but it still doesn't seem to be enough. But yeah, I think we're still kind of like at the beginning.
So there's plenty of pie for everyone?
Oh yeah. I mean, I kind of got started in this by, I love to cook. I love to bake. I got let go from my job in February 2024. And I also, at the beginning of that year, made a New Year's resolution to do one new bake a month. In February, happened to coincide with bagels. And so I started to make them, and first batch I made came out terrible. But like this competitive drive in me wanted to make sure that, you know, the next thing I did, or the next one I made, came out better. And then it just kind of became a session of just making better and better bagels, and then making the best bagel I can and making my perfect version. But as I started to go along that, I noticed and realized, you know, there's really not a lot of great quality bagel shops out there. Wow. There are good bagel shops out there, and I don't want like anyone to, you know, assume that I think mine's, you know, better than everyone else's or whatnot, but there are a lot of great quality shops out there. But there's just not enough. And I saw that there was an easy market to entry in Chicago with bagels.
Nice.
So like knowing that I wanted to, you know, do this on the side, it kind of grew into that. But like knowing that any new bagel shop that opens kind of gets a lot of hype, a lot of publicity, because there's just not enough. And it's something that people want. So that really, you know, sparked something in my mind of like, oh, I think this could probably work, because one, there's a demand for it. Two, there's, you know, an open market for it. And people always want something new, always want something better. And clearly there's not enough, you know, shops in the city that people are, you know, right when they think of bagels in the city, they're thinking of a specific shop.
Yeah, I'm curious. I guess when you do think of bagels in the city, I think, as someone who casually reads Reddit, and I personally would just make the trek to Bagel and Bialy,
sure,
to Skokie. But yeah, I don't know. In the city, I don't know who. There's a handful.
Yeah, I would say, like, you know, of places I was going to and places I enjoy now. Because, you know, before Tilly opened, before, you know, before I started making bagels, and now that's kind of all I eat. But, you know, I was going to New York Bagel and Bialy when I was living in the suburbs, and even would make treks up there. Bagel Miller is a really great spot in Lincoln Square. I don't live that close to it, but if I'm making a trek or if I'm over there, I'd love to stop by.
Yeah.
And Dave's a really nice guy. RNA Sourdough does great bagels.
Never heard. How do you spell that? RNA?
RNA.
RNA. Okay.
Yeah. You haven't heard of them?
No.
Oh man, great spot.
Sometimes I'm out of the loop.
Yeah. But no, so like there are several good shops in the city. It's just for the demand, and you go to New York and there's bagel shops on every corner. So it's easy to find somewhere, and it's easy no matter where you're going to get a good quality bagel.
Yeah.
Here, there might be one every neighborhood, maybe. And so if there's not that many, you have to go out of your way.
Yeah.
And so, if you're living in, I don't know, in Wicker Park, right? There's Bro Bagels.
Yeah.
Good shop. That's kind of it,
Yeah. Zeitlin's is coming soon too.
Zeitlin's
Yeah.
for sure. And so I think if there were more shops, people would be more satisfied.
Yeah. It makes me think of like that sentiment in New York where you would be I'm guessing you would be happy to go anywhere because it's so prevalent.
Yeah.
I wonder if, where I get my hair cut, I go to Fernwood, and I'd be happy to get it cut by anyone.
Sure.
And I wonder if that's something that we can achieve with bagels. And I wonder if that's the case with pizza. It's like there's always this big pizza debate of New York style, Detroit style, Chicago style, all that stuff. But I don't know, just whatever you're feeling, and you'd be happy to go wherever.
Yeah, I do think that like people, especially with food, can be very particular, right? Like I think a big thing about the bagels in the city and why, people might not be thinking of Chicago as a bagel city is they're missing that style that they're looking for. And I think it's more of a New York style. And not to say that it's better than, an artisan style or a Montreal style or any other style of bagel. I think it's what people connect with the most and desire the most.
Yeah, some nostalgia.
Right, exactly. Yeah. And I think food and nostalgia play hand in hand.
They do, yeah.
It's formed a lot of memories growing up. I was listening or watching The Bear. I don't know if you watched The Bear.
I haven't seen the most recent season, but yeah.
I won't spoil anything.
Okay.
I haven't finished the new season. But in the first episode, Carmi was talking to his brother about why they're in food and why, what happens. And, restaurants and going to get food in your early days, like creates those core memories for you. A lot of celebrations happen in restaurants. A lot of, happy memories in your life happen around restaurants and food. And so I think the nostalgia of growing up and eating bagels, a lot of people associate that with eating a New York style bagel. I can't claim mine to be New York style. It's not made in New York, but it's got the aspects and characteristics of it. And I think it's the closest thing to what people are looking for in the city.
Okay.
And I think part of the reason why this is done so well is because it's the bagel that kind of people feel nostalgic about and are looking for. I've gotten several comments from people who have lived in New York and or have gone to New York and a ton of bagels, and reminds them of that bagel or it reminds them of being in New York, and that's kind of the biggest compliment I can get.
Can you quickly describe the main the characteristics?
Yeah, so I think
because you're known for the knock knock.
Yeah, which is kind of a fun way to. I think the engagement on those videos did the
they were
best.
Crushing.
Yeah, and so I kind of just leaned into it, and I think it's fun. And my goal is, obviously with pre-orders and the limited amount that I can make right now and the timing of when I bake them and all that, it's hard to get people hot, fresh bagels. The goal is to move towards that and be able to get everyone their own knock knock moment. Pop-up bagel has kind of revolutionized the way people eat a bagel nowadays, where you're ripping, you're dipping, and eating it. And I think that business model is proven to work, and it's proven to show that people want something like that. Because I think the genesis of eating a bagel is, to get it hot and fresh out of the oven, and just eat it with cream cheese and enjoy.
I was tapping through some of the previous stories after the pickup, and they would just bring it to the park and have a little Sunday morning moment.
Yeah, I think this shows that people just want a good quality product.
Okay.
No matter how it's offered to them, people are just going to eat the bagel plain, no cream cheese. I think that is the true test of if something is great or not. If, it's very basic and bare, bones, if it stands up.
Do you have like a handful of toppings now? Flavors?
Yeah, I mean,
kind
like,
of the main go-tos.
Yeah, essentially, I'm offering 5 or 6 flavors right now, and it's just same dough.
Yeah.
Just because I don't have enough time in the day or the week to play around with different things, and as I move forward, and have more time to do so, I'm going to hope to offer different varieties, but more so in a specialty. Like a bagel of the week, bagel of the month type of thing.
I mean, it can come in like the different spreads, right?
That's the easiest way to kind of mix variety into it, is do different cream cheeses, do seasonal flavors, stuff like that. But going back to kind of like the characteristics of the bagel, I think a New York bagel differentiates itself from others in terms of exterior. You're baking on a deck oven. You're baking on... Traditionally, New York bagels are baked on bagel boards.
Okay.
And so it's, essentially a cedar or, kind of any wooden plank with burlap over it. Huh. And you soak the boards. And the reason you soak the boards is twofold. One is it creates steam in the oven.
Okay.
And steam helps bagels rise. It helps, a number of characteristics come from adding steam into the oven. The second thing is, after you boil them, you put them onto the bagel boards top side down.
Okay.
And then, so the boards are seasoned. If they have any seasoning on it, they're seasoned. You put the top side down. And then if you want, is season the bottoms as well that are faced up. A bagel that has seasoning on both sides, I think it's kind of the best. Like, I don't understand why people don't season both.
I think Tilly's does this. Is it difficult to season the inside?
It's not difficult. I just don't think you get the same flavor, because like when you're baking them, you're baking the seasonings, you're exposing it to the heat on the outside, you're roasting the onion, you're roasting the garlic. You're getting a different flavor profile or a more enhanced flavor. But I've seen, bagels do or be, mixed in the seasoning with the dough, but I just don't think you get the same thing. But
all you've seen on the gram is the flip. So I didn't know they were seasoning on those boards. That's really cool.
Yeah. So then when you season them and put the bagels top side down, you're seasoning the top side, and then you go on the bottom and season. Okay. But when you're baking it in the oven for the first quarter of it, it's baking top side up. You're baking the bottoms essentially. Okay. So you're getting a rise on both sides because you're going to flip it. But 2, you're forming a crust on that bottom. So it forms a crust, and then when you flip it, it forms that bottom layer crust. That's my favorite part of a bagel. I always go for the bottom. But so the crust that you get, baking in a deck oven on wooden boards. The texture on the inside, it's light but dense at the same time. It's got chew to it, but it's not, it's not like you're chewing for hours. It's not a tough piece of steak. It just has a great texture to it, good mouthfeel, and it's got some volume to it as well. Yeah. So I think a lot of those characteristics are hard to, you can replicate some of them, baking on baking trays or stuff like that, but you're not going to get the bottoms that you want.
Because they're not flipping unless it's harder to flip.
Right, exactly. Okay. Well, you're not flipping them if you're baking them on baking trays. But also, if you're baking them on baking trays, the bottoms are cooked. You're baking on the bottom the whole time. When you're not forming the crust because the bottoms are faced up on bagel boards for the first.
How do you slide them back out after you flip them? Because they're on the deck, right?
Yeah. Okay. So you flip them off the board, and then they bake the rest of the time on the bottoms, and then you take a peel, like a pizza peel or anything like that.
And I guess to clarify, I should know this, but like deck ovens are for pizzas too?
Yeah.
Okay, cool.
It's just a stone slab. It evenly distributes the heat. Okay. And so like I've seen bagel shops that bake on trays. They'll on the racks in the ovens, they'll put pizza stones or something like that to somewhat replicate
the evenness of the heat.
Of the heat, yeah. Okay. So, but I think the way that New York bagels are made traditionally really give a great exterior crust to it.
Nice.
and the boiling aspect of baking bagels also plays a hand into the crust as well.
Yeah.
The longer you boil, the thicker the crust is going to be. So it's finding a balance between how long you boil for and what's, how thick you want that crust to be.
I don't think of New York bagel and bialy with a crust.
Right. So they, I think a really good New York bagel has that fine line in between having a good solid crust, but not thick enough to kind of feel.
Yeah,
when you slice it open, you're not seeing like a thickness to it.
In a way, I wonder if the crust, to me, would be more conducive to a rip and dip rather than a sandwich. But that, that's very subjective.
I think sandwich bread kind of, depending on how you want to eat it. I think bagels are at times difficult to eat in sandwich form because they'll slide out, all the ingredients in the middle will slide out. So it has to be sturdy enough to hold everything in, but soft enough to kind of form around it so that stuff doesn't slide out. But obviously bagel sandwiches are, pretty notoriously known as people's go-to breakfast options. So it's doing something right, but you do get difficulties eating it at times.
Well,
depending on what you're putting in.
In a way, it's like, it allows you, it's not inherently dinner food, so that kind of restores, unless you're just prepping at night, but restores your evenings so you kind of have some life, and you're not a full-time restaurateur.
I also think that kind of going back to the bagel scene here versus New York, right? Like New York is a very grab and go culture. Everybody's always on the move, and I think a bagel and a bagel sandwich in particular play hand in hand with grab and go on the move. It's easy to eat as you're walking. It's easy to eat, in 2 minutes while you're standing there waiting for the bus or the train. Whereas Chicago is a little bit more laid back. And I think things are a little bit more spread out here, and that grab and go culture isn't as prevalent. And so I think sit down shops are definitely a little bit more of the go-to here. So you see all the bigger bagel shops with walk-in space, with sit-down space, which is great, but
it's at the end of the day, it's what you want it to be, right?
Yeah, exactly.
We were talking about Justin from Kyoto Black, and he's aiming for that model. He doesn't really want the overhead of a coffee shop, but he wants to make an excellent product, to the point where people will come and make the trek and then just go. Yeah,
I think there's a bagel shop in Dallas called Starship Bagel.
Okay,
I've met the owner. Oren, great guy, came into Chicago during the James Beard Awards and was able to try my bagel, gave me great feedback. But I think, I can't remember if it's their first location or not, but they have just like this little, it looks like a shed essentially. It's a very small space. I think it's like a satellite location, but all they're doing is just slinging bagels and coffee and out of there. And it's like, you don't need to spend a ton of money to make a lot of money. If you got a good quality product and you have a space where people can come and grab it and, high foot traffic, I think you're going to do well. And essentially that's kind of where I want to go. I don't necessarily want to make sandwiches. I think there's a lot of
that takes time.
Waste. One, a lot of time. Two, a lot of waste. It's a lot of produce that if you're not selling it, it's going to go bad, right? And so if you're just selling bagels and schmear, and you have options for people to purchase stuff that's packaged on the side, they can make their own, or wholesale to coffee shops or wherever to make the sandwiches. If that's what they want to do. But my focus is making the best bagel that I can, and the bagel that people in Chicago deserve. So
I love that. Have you seen the headlines from Del Sur, the new Filipino bakery? And even Justin, the owner, would say he wouldn't recommend waiting hours for his pastries. And I think they at this point have it dialed in as far as wanting to give the same experience to everyone that's been waiting, as far as limiting the number of pastries each person can buy and things like that. I think at this point with the garage window at Pompeii, I think you have it dialed in. I've never had the pleasure. I've only tried twice, and as many have complained. I'm sure it's like I couldn't even get a bagel in the cart. It's just like it's gone.
Yeah, it's tough.
Has it been better when I think you also recently started doing the random drops? Like you would just join the text list, and then you'll be notified 5 minutes before the drop. Do you feel like you have that dialed in to the point where on pickup day, people aren't waiting for too long?
Yeah, I think, generally, so I give a window of an hour.
Okay.
Sometimes it's enough. Sometimes people can't make it. I've had some issues with that in terms of people not being able to pick up their order because something happened that day or they can't make it till later. Now at Pompeii, I've kind of been able to fix that. They're open till 8. Right.
Nice,
so I can just leave it there for them.
You don't have to be there.
Right.
Okay.
But no, I think, honestly, I haven't seen a line form until recently. Like people are getting there before 11 and starting to form a line. But I guess
if they're there, they have an order, right?
So, exactly. So you don't have to really.
Whereas it's the opposite.
Right. I think the more challenging part for customers is the online ordering.
Yeah.
Which. So you mentioned I switched from a kind of scheduled drop Tuesdays at 5:30 p.m. to a random time. And I did that strategically. One, it was to make it less competitive for people who haven't been able to get an order.
If you really want to join the list.
Right. So before I changed that, every Tuesday at 5:30, hundreds of people were on there all at the same time. And if you're going up against, I think at most I saw on there was like almost 800 people.
What do you think? Was it just luck? Do you think people are like deploying bots, like AI agents to this?
Not as many as people would think.
Okay.
Yeah. I'm sure there's, people out there who have created bots. I don't think, I get a lot of messages
kind of
about
like restaurant reservations.
Yeah. Dude, I mean, I get a lot of messages about people creating bots and, another for this week, going up against the bots. It's not the case. I get plenty of new customers every single week. And I think it's majority of the customers as well. There are a good handful of repeats.
That's cool.
But I think, and that's what you want, right? You want people to get it and come back.
Yeah.
But you also want to expose it to new people.
Right.
So the goal of, going to the random drop times was to make it less competitive. Because if people didn't know, you're not competing against 750 people or 800 people. You're competing against maybe a couple hundred at the first minute.
And what did you notice with the people waiting when you made that switch? Like how many people ended up waiting when you made that switch?
I mean, you would get to the same number of people trying to get in.
Yeah.
It's just they came in, they weren't all there at the the drop time.
Okay.
They came in over time. And I think people are starting to realize like you got to, if you don't go online right as the text comes, you're gone. You're missing out because
are you in a queue when you go online or is it just it's still first come first serve?
Yeah, it's first come first serve.
Wow.
I think it's how fast your internet is. If you're on a desktop versus a cell phone, stuff like that. I've talked to several customers who have been able to get it multiple times, and the biggest thing that they tell me is they're just chronically on their phone. They're chronically online,
sure.
Which is like, you're right place, right time. Like you just happen to be online when you get the text and you get the text first. But I think it's just a matter of, having it readily available.
Okay.
Sometimes people will reach out asking me what the secret is. I've only tried to order myself once when it was scheduled and I couldn't even get it. Like, I don't have any secrets.
So you understand the pain.
Yeah, but from what customers have told me is, having the site preloaded at the beginning of the day, so that way when the drop happens, all you got to do is just go to, you're already on the site.
Yeah.
And that 30 seconds it takes to navigate to the site, they're all gone.
You should know what you want, all that stuff.
Yeah. And it's tough to get that in the hands of new customers or customers who aren't as tech savvy.
Right.
But the goal is to move away from pre-orders as I start to scale. I've been scaling up over the past several drops and getting to an amount where I feel like it's worth people waiting in line.
Yeah.
Like if I'm only selling 400, 500 bagels for a piece, that's less than 150 orders. It's less than 120 orders. I might have 300 people trying to wait. I don't know. I've never done a walk up yet.
You don't want any leftovers either.
Right. I don't want any leftovers, but I also don't want people coming and wasting their time in line. I wouldn't, I think it's great to have that demand, but playing around
it's a little scary, like pivoting to a walk up model.
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah.
So, I've thought about maybe doing part walk up, part pre-order, stuff like that to kind of figure it out. I mean, everything I've done is essentially just an experiment as I'm going along. Like I don't have any restaurant. I've worked in a restaurant before. I don't have any restaurant really experience of owning one, of managing one, of running one. And so everything I'm doing, I'm just figuring out as I go.
You're figuring it out, but you've partnered with Primo's and now Pompeii. Seeing what you've seen, is that something that you do want to do eventually?
Like run it?
A brick and mortar?
Yeah, definitely.
Okay.
I think, again, what size the brick and mortar is, what the concept is all still trying to be thought out. I think I have a really good idea of what I want to do when I get into brick and mortar, but it's, what size do I need? If, maybe I want to do wholesale, and if I get a first location and it's not big enough to support walk-ups and wholesale, do I wait for my first spot to be big enough to do both? So, but yeah, I do want to do brick and mortar, and I want to do that mainly to be able to make what I want. And
when and where you want it.
When and where, the amount that I want. I don't want restrictions. I've, in both places that I've been working out of, I have restrictions. I have capacity restrictions. I have, storage restrictions. I stuff like that. And demand doesn't stop, doesn't slow down for that. And so there's a fine line to walk when it's, hype versus expectation, the exclusivity of it all. And, I think the exclusivity has been very beneficial.
You're in the good old days.
Yeah. But I think there's, again, it's a fine line to walk with exclusivity, because the more you make it exclusive and the harder it is to get, and the more people fail, the less likely they are. Give up. Exactly. And I've had people reach out, not a lot, but I've had some people reach out and say, hey, I've tried 10 weeks in a row and I just haven't been able to get it. And, good luck with everything, but I'm probably just going to stop trying for now, which is,
until you have a walk
sucks.
Up.
Yeah, it sucks. But at the same time, I'm not necessarily worried about demand.
No.
That, I want to, as I'm naturally a people pleaser. Yeah. And so it hurts to, not be able to give everybody what they want. But at the same time, I don't really need to worry about that right now. I'm worried about making the best bagel I can every week, for, and building and building and building.
I wonder, did you ever consider partnering or sharing space with a coffee shop or a breakfast place?
I've thought about it. So the issue with that is most coffee shops or breakfast places don't have the equipment that I'm looking for.
Interesting.
Which, before this, we were chatting a little bit about Pompeii and the situation there and the oven that they have there. It's a 8-9 deck rotisserie oven designed for bagels. The company Picard is, they designed their ovens, specifically for bagels. And so it's a dream to use that.
Okay.
I'm not going to really find that anywhere.
Okay.
There are, pizza deck ovens that I could find in certain restaurants, and that's what I was using at Primo's. But there are, every oven's different. There might be hot spots in ovens. They're, trying to navigate and figure out an oven is a little difficult. But the difference between what you get on a deck oven versus what you get in a convection oven, which is, your standard oven, you'll have one at home, or a commercial convection oven, which is what most kitchens will probably have, you're not going to get the same product.
Yeah.
And you ask any bagel shop owner that makes bagels in a convection oven, you're not going to get the same product as, that oven versus a deck oven.
Okay. Yeah. Maybe this is making me think of how collaborative Derek from Pauly G's in Logan Square is. And I'm sure, I don't know if Detroit style is used on is baked in deck ovens.
Their pizzas are baked in deck ovens. So I actually know, I don't know them. I've reached out to them. Early days, I reached out to them. I don't know if it was him in particular. I live in Wicker, so I went to the slice shop, asked for, a manager or whatever.
Yeah, maybe Tony.
Maybe. No, it wasn't Tony. I reached out to Tony as well.
Okay.
But no, I thought of, early days, I knew that kind of oven was what I wanted to work on. And so I started reaching out to pizza shops around the area. I talked to Craft Pizza, great guy. Didn't end up working out over there, but
Tony Scardino. Professor Pizza.
So another person like that's on my list that I was like thinking of reaching out to, never did, but because I ended up finding Primo's. But yeah, I mean, pizza shops and bagels.
That makes sense. Yeah,
is a really great combination. One, they use the same equipment. Two, they operate at different hours of the day. Bagels in the morning, pizza in the afternoon. At
You're getting
night.
my juices flowing.
Yeah, I mean, hey, if you got any connections, please let me know. But yeah, I think those type of shops are shops that I was looking at, not necessarily coffee shops or breakfast shops or stuff like that.
Well, going along the same vein of Del Sur, under that same hospitality umbrella, Francis Almeida.
Yeah,
they have novel pizza. Right
yeah, I actually just went there the other week.
Right?
Yeah, he reached out to me a few months ago. I've heard great things about Novel and Drip Collective and everything he's got his hands in, and went and reached out to him. He wasn't there, unfortunately, the day that I went, but great shop, great pizza. But yeah, I mean, location doesn't matter to me. The space and the setup is what's more important.
So then that kind of begs the next question. It's like, would you trust someone to do pickups with you as long as you were prepping? Like, what if you had multiple locations to prep in, and then like build a team to just give people their order?
Yeah,
but, you'd have to learn.
Like you're baking out of the same one location.
No,
or?
you'd probably be baking out
like
of different, different pizza shops, right?
Yeah,
just like
I think so.
But around the city,
as I grow, right, the challenging thing to me, and especially having created this from nothing to. I've done pretty well so far, and am happy with the way things have gone. But to grow into that, and not really having the experience of growing and managing something, my biggest issue is worrying about trust.
Oh, sure.
Who you bring in, can you trust that person? Also, I think as a baker and somebody who makes food, someone who's creative, giving that up. Giving the creative control up, not necessarily of what's being made, but how it's being made. Like, I won't be there at a different shop to oversee how it's being made, if it's coming out to my liking and stuff like that. And I'm very particular about the food I make and what I put out there, right? Like, I'm putting my name behind anything that's associated with this brand. And if it's not up to my standards, it's hard for me to want to put that out there. There have been times in my life where I've promised to make something. There was a Super Bowl party I said I'd make cookies for one year, and I made the cookies, and whatever happened, they didn't come out how I wanted them to.
Sure.
I didn't bring them.
I
don't want to put
that's
my
your
name.
integrity.
Exactly. I don't want to put my name behind something I don't stand behind.
Yeah.
And that's the tough part about, as I grow, giving that up a little bit.
It's giving that up, but then you're not at that point yet where you want some of your time back.
Yeah. 100%. I'm at that time. I'm at that point now.
You're at that point?
Well, yeah. I think I really want to be involved. Obviously I want to be involved in this, but I want to put my all into this. And I actually, took steps to do that. We just, right before this, I mentioned to you that I just quit my full-time job. And am going all in on this. And it's been hard over the past year since I've had this job to kind of dedicate the time I want to bagels, and the time needed to keep my full-time job.
To keep doing what you need to do. And that's very similar to how I felt that way when we were teaching this class at UIC, and it took me 3 years to convince my partner to leave with me, because we were state employees. So he left a pension. And at that time he was starting a family, so it's a lot of risk, and I was single at the time, but I'm like, we reached our ceiling of potential here, like, let's go. And the class was essentially you can run it on autopilot. And so it gave me the mental bandwidth to plan ahead for this project.
Yeah, and I think having just gone through making this jump, and over the past several months of trying to analyze and figure out when the right time to jump is. There's never a right time.
It's never perfect.
It's never perfect. You're never going to have everything set up the way you want it to make that jump, but it's having enough set up in place to feel comfortable making that jump, knowing that when you do, you will be putting everything you have into what you're doing and giving yourself the time and the attention that what you're doing deserves to get you to that point sooner.
Exciting feeling. Like, so how long has it been? Because it was almost a year, right?
Bagels?
Of Holey dough.
I like incorporated, in essentially March of last year was when I came up with the name. I decided like this is, the plan essentially. Yeah.
But week after week, you see this wave of momentum coming, and I can't even imagine what that's going to feel like when you can commit 100%.
Yeah, no, I mean, it's exciting. It's funny because I had one passion in life growing up, and that was baseball.
Okay.
Like all I wanted to do was play baseball, be a professional athlete, and all that. I had no backup plan.
Wow.
And it all came to an end when I had an injury in college, and I didn't have to give it up. I chose to give it up.
Okay.
And I chose to give it up because my first 3 years of college, I wouldn't have been playing.
Okay.
So I kind of lost my passion and my love for going out there every day and trying to play, trying to rehab and all that. And it was a tough point in my life. I was pretty depressed. I'd just given up my passion. My dad passed away when I was 16.
Oh, wow.
And so, from 16 to like 23, wasn't the best years of my life, but that
formative though.
Formative, 100%.
Yeah.
I mean, I wouldn't be the person I am today without those things happening. And I think I'm trying to live my life learning from, not learning from mistakes, but learning from opportunities and things that happen in life, and trying to look at it through an optimistic lens. And what can I learn from this instead of, kind of thinking, oh, look what happened to me. But so, I had one passion in life, and that was baseball, and I gave it up because it just
to clarify, you gave it up junior year? Were you playing for the first 3 years?
I played for I didn't even play. I was injured the first 2 years.
Oh.
And my sophomore year, I re-injured my elbow, and I would have had to get Tommy John surgery, which is a reconstructive surgery. It would have been a 1.5 year recovery. So I would have sat out freshman, sophomore, and junior year. And I was just like.
And did you get there with a scholarship?
Nah, I thought I was a little bit better than I was. I was holding out for a D1 scholarship. I had an option to walk on to a school or two, but chose to go the junior college route and tried playing and got injured freshman year. Got injured sophomore year, and then that's what happened. So, but then that injury happened again sophomore year, and I'm sitting there before practice one day, I was crying. I was sad. I was upset. I was gonna have to sit out 3 years of not playing. It's the dream was to play, and I was already in a down state mentally from just life in general, and I was like, I don't want to do this anymore. I lost my passion for it. I lost my interest for it, and I gave it up. And so I think, it was a hard thing to do, but it's led me to here.
Yeah.
In a roundabout way.
What got you? Was it your dad that got you into baseball?
No, not really. I, honestly, from 4 years old, I just had an ability to play. It just came so naturally to me. My dad really wasn't an athletic guy.
Yeah, I guess I was gonna see if your dad was no longer. I guess no, but if your dad was your inspiration, you probably would have persevered and pushed even harder.
Sure.
Do it for him.
Look, I mean, my dad is still my biggest inspiration in life. Even though he's not here anymore, he's the reason why I have a passion for food. He grew up, his first job was in a kitchen, cleaning dishes, all that, but kind of worked his way up to cooking and became passionate about that and instilled that into me and my brothers. So I grew up in a kitchen, not a professional kitchen. I grew up in my kitchen, but seeing my dad cooking with him, eating, I was the least picky eater of anybody growing up. He'd take me to my soccer games on Saturday mornings, and then after for lunch, we'd go get, 2 for $10 sushi rolls.
Yeah.
That I don't think that's really normal.
Kid food.
Yeah, I don't think that's normal for kids growing up. But he just, kind of instilled in me this passion and love for food and all different types of food, and I've kind of carried that along. So, but yeah, I mean, knowing that my passion for baseball kind of is still there, but I gave it up. but this has been the first time I felt as passionate as I did about baseball.
About anything.
Of anything.
I guess what or who, was it maybe a coach or a teammate, helped you like recenter during sophomore year when you were depressed?
Yeah, I think, I don't know, it's tough. I definitely had some coaches that were very supportive.
I'm sure as a collegiate coach, they see that all the time. Of
Yeah.
Just like dreams being kind of crushed.
Yeah, I think one, growing up, I wasn't a very expressive person. I was very introverted, shy, didn't like to talk. And so I wasn't putting myself out there, expressing these feelings to people. I kind of just did what I did and didn't say much about it. So, as much as they would have been there to help, I wasn't letting them help me.
Okay.
And so I was kind of just like going through this essentially on my own. I had a great support system all throughout my life, great friends. My family was always there. But it's, if you don't let people help you, how are they going to know?
Yeah.
And so, I think I had some, people in my life during those times that helped me move along. My oldest brother, Max, is a very supportive figure in my life and kind of assumed that de facto parent role in that time and really kind of helped push me along. And, after that transition of moving out of baseball kind of helped me refocus and kind of get me back on a path towards, being a part of society in terms of, growing up and getting your shit together. I don't know if I can swear on it.
It's all good. So you made the decision to just leave without an explicit option after?
Yeah. I thought about things of what I wanted to do next. I had no idea. So I took some time. My sophomore year, I was at this small school in California, Southern California. I actually grew up in Southern California. So, it was kind of like going back home that year, but then decided to leave, came back to Chicago and took a semester off, enrolled in, went to U of I after that.
Okay.
And that's where I met Jordan.
Yeah. Shout out Jordan.
Yeah, shout out Jordan. B96. Listen.
Dash.
Yeah, Dash on the radio.
So was it through API?
That I met him?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, wow.
Yeah,
okay.
Yeah. So, transferred. My best friend was at U of I in API at the time, and I had visited a couple times, freshman, sophomore year, and went. I knew his group of friends and all that, and felt very comfortable there.
Yeah.
So joined there, and that they've been kind of my lifelong friends since. But so transferred to U of I. And then, I didn't really have much of a support financially, right? Like I had financial aid. I was also paying my way through school. So it became a little too much to continue to stay there. So I actually ended up leaving U of I after a year and a half. I wasn't.
But did you I'm sure that forces you to mature and grow up so fast.
Yeah.
So like on the flip side, I was fortunate enough for my parents to support me all the way through college, but I probably didn't take it as seriously as I could have, as I should have.
Yeah.
So when you're fully responsible for your future and your education, every dollar counts.
Yeah, definitely. And I think through my brother, my aunt and uncle that I stayed with when I moved back here, kind of shaped my thought process and drive to kind of get my degree and finish school and forge a new path. That was really a major moment to kind of get back on the tracks and move forward, especially because I was still going through a rough point in my life, dealing with depression, dealing with losing my father. But it definitely was, like you mentioned before, it was a very formative time in my life.
I guess along that same vein, are there certain experiences or moments with your dad that keep coming back to you that made it so hard to move on?
Yeah. I mean, I hope my brothers don't mind me saying this. I'm the most athletic in our family. I was the best athlete, and in my way that I connected with my dad was, through sports.
Okay.
He was always available to take me to tournaments, soccer tournaments, baseball tournaments. We spent hours in the car together, listening to car talk radio, listening to 80s, 70s and 80s music, and getting food, along the way. And so those times I always think back to. Or times, spending in the kitchen with him. He'd come home from work and, see what's in our fridge and just whip up something amazing. And just like watching him do that, I think back to these memories, especially over the last several months of, thinking of when to make this jump to go full time in bagels. Like, there's a lot of parallels between my life and his life, which is actually really interesting. He grew up in working in restaurants as well, but he always had a dream to have a restaurant one day and had a few opportunities to kind of get into that, but never did. Certain circumstances with different situations, but never ended up doing it. So, there's his passion for food. There's his passion for, wanting to get into the restaurant industry, where our lives kind of overlap. He also went to U of I, started an education department, switched to business. I did the same thing. When I transferred to U of I transferred into the education department. You were asking a little bit about like what if I thought about what I wanted to do after baseball. I didn't, but I came up with this plan of, I'll transfer to U of I. I had to figure out what I needed to major in.
Okay.
And I was like, you know what? I work well with kids. I was a camp counselor for years and loved doing that. And, let's go into the education department.
Yeah.
Not really thinking in the back of my head,
but
like,
it's natural.
My dad did this.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah.
But I was like, oh, okay, that's very cool that when I realized that. But ultimately that wasn't the path for me.
Yeah.
And made the switch and ended up getting an accounting degree.
Okay.
So I went into business.
Now, I mean, looking back, was accounting the right degree?
Yeah, I mean, moving forward, absolutely. I don't have to hire an accountant.
It's a love-hate thing, I think. I almost finished an MBA thing, and like accounting, finance and accounting was so hard.
Yeah, there was something with accounting when I took like an intro class that it clicked, and I was just like, you know what? Like, I'm trying to figure out what I want to do with my life. I found something that like I'm pretty good at, and I just want to like, I know it's going to be a stable income. I know it's going to be a stable job. Like, last thing to go into business is the accounting department. Okay. And so I was like, that's what I'm going to do. I just put my head down and got a degree. Am I passionate about it? No. But it's going to help for sure. Yeah. Yeah. So fortunate enough that, I definitely had the foresight to know that I was going to go into my own business. Yeah. But no, it all worked out.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
And where was that degree from?
Northeastern Illinois.
Northeastern.
Yeah, up in Rogers Park.
Yeah. Jake went there for a little bit. That reminds me. I mean, Jake had such a non-linear path. Like we met at UIC, and then he left for Kendall for culinary school, and then went to Northeastern for, I think, finance or accounting. And the whole family doesn't even have a car wash anymore.
Yeah, they sold them all. Yeah, but no, I mean, I think, I mean, the path that has led me to where I am now, I wouldn't change. It's hard to think back, and it's easy to have regret for things that happen. It's easy to go, but think back and be like, I would have done this differently or that differently. Sure, I if like I could have, I would have, but you know what? I'm here, and I can't change what happened in the past. It's only learning from what's happened and trying to apply that moving forward. So that way, you grow from it, you learn from it.
Do you talk with another API brother from LA Cafe?
Jason, yeah.
I don't know him personally, but Jordan's referred him.
Yeah, he's a good buddy.
But Taqueria Chingon across the street was open. I don't know if they're still open. The space is open.
So I don't know if that space is still open. They moved to Fulton.
Yeah.
And great for it because they're the best. I love their tacos. Maybe the best tacos in the city. Duck carnitas are amazing. So I'm very happy that they moved to that location.
But when I didn't even think, I forgot about LA when we were talking about like, cafe spaces to share.
Yeah, so Jason and I have had conversations, about this and kind of doing something together, whether that's I supply bagels for a sandwich or.
But they also have a bake shop in the.
Yeah, back, right? But again, like in terms of equipment wise, it's not necessarily what I need, and space wise, that LA is a very tiny. It's a small kitchen, and also as a bakery, they're working early hours in the morning as well. Yeah. So it's like overlapping. It's not the best option.
Have you reached out to Dan from Bad Butter?
Yeah. Oh, well, no, I haven't reached out to him. But I actually have drawn inspiration from his model of doing pop-ups and stuff like that. I got on Hot Plate, which is the ordering platform I use, because he uses it.
Nice.
So I was trying to think around about how to, when I was looking to start doing sales, what was it, May of 2024, I was, out of the stage of giving it to friends and family and looking to like make a little bit of money
it's
from
a fish.
this. Yeah. And so I was like, I didn't want to do like a Google Forms thing. It just would have become too confusing. So I looked around. I knew he was selling online and looked at that platform. And it's a platform specifically for food drops. It's great, and it's a smaller company. Like the owner reached out to me. Rishi reached out to me after I got on there and said, if I ever need anything, reach out. It's very, it's a great place to start and to grow. And so, it's been great. It
makes you wonder how many hotels have deck ovens?
Yeah, I don't know. I've been reached out to a handful of times from different businesses, whether it's a hotel or whatnot. And I'm flattered.
Nice to be wanted.
It's nice to be wanted, 100%. At the same time, it's like there's already so many things going on where like it's hard to wrap my head around everything. Full-time job at the time and trying to do this and scale and grow. And I mean, I think the thing I was always focusing on at the end of the day was just making more bagels. Yeah. And like trying to do it in the space that I had. I think moving so many times, you move to a new kitchen, you got to test it out. You got to make sure you're getting the product you want. And then you have to start, a smaller scale and work your way up. And to do that over and over again, trying to find the right
rebuilding
space.
Systems.
Right. It's just tough. So, I tried to stick it out at Primo's as long as I could. And then again, it just got to a capacity restraint. And also like, the oven there wasn't my preferred oven. It was a deck oven, it was a pizza oven. It was coming out with the product I want, but there was every oven's different, like I mentioned. But then I saw the opportunity at Pompeii and went in there and saw the oven that they have and the space that they have. And I was like, this is the next step. Like I need to do what I can to get in here and to work and grow from there.
Is that still the bottleneck at this point? Is the number of bagels you can bake?
No, right now the bottleneck is going to be like refrigeration space. They're a fully operating restaurant Monday through Sunday, right? So they have stuff in their walk-in fridges. Oh, and they're not thinking, before I came in, like, hey, like how much space do we? Yeah, right. So now I'm kind of like politely trying to discuss, hey, like I'm really trying to scale up to this number. I also then want to try and go back-to-back days, right? Like I think doing Saturday, Sunday sales is the best option moving forward. Yeah. And so, but at that, with that being said, I need more space in their walk-in fridge. They have, they got 3 walk-in fridges, but again, they're being utilized.
Consider, I don't know if like the hatchery has like deck ovens.
I've looked into them. I think they have like a couple deck ovens, but then it's like I mentioned earlier, location isn't an issue, but for me, to a certain degree, it is. I don't have a car.
Oh shit! I didn't know that.
Yeah. So I know I've done all of this without having a car.
Good for you.
The amount of Ubers I've taken to and from Primo's and Pompeii, renting cars or borrowing friends' cars to go out to get ingredients. Like, it's I've been bootstrapping for sure. Yeah. I mean, I'm not trying to go out and spend a ton of money. No. I'm trying to work with what I have and hopefully that'll come back and I'll be able to reinvest into the business. And I mean, I have for sure, but as I've been able to make more, I've made a little bit more money from it. And, hopefully we'll be getting a car soon and all that. So any car dealerships out there, let me know. You want to work with me?
I don't know. I mean, depending on the size, get a Rivian truck. I don't know. Just
it's pricey.
Pricey, but it's a business write-off.
How much do you think I'm making from bagels? Nah, but it's definitely getting something that gets me from point A to point B is all I care about right now. And
it's scary, but it's so fun to think about like what is the next step that's going to unlock the next level.
Yeah. I do think that I'm not at this where I want to be at Pompeii in terms of being at Pompeii.
Yeah.
I'm working my way to where I want to be there. I'm not there yet. I'm trying to get to
and
a certain.
It's not maxed out yet, so that's
it's
good,
not maxed
right?
out. Yeah.
So how do we max it out without extra overhead? Before we previously talked about multiple locations for pop-ups, but that doesn't seem as realistic.
Yeah.
Or is the next realistic step a brick and mortar, or just another bigger pop-up space? I don't know.
Yeah, I think ideally, the next step, like in a perfect world, if there is a bigger pop-up space, that would work, right? I think there's a lot of, additional costs that come into having your own space that factor into, what you're making out of a business. And with a pop-up model, you don't necessarily have that. And I've had some discussions with some people in the restaurant industry that are like, we don't see what you're doing very often. Like, you don't see people just like renting space out of another restaurant.
And other friends, Billy and Cecily from Pizza Michi.
Yeah. I met Billy when I went in there a couple months ago, and they're actually going to be at Eeeeeatscon.
Oh yeah.
Which I will be as well.
They're very collaborative.
Yeah, very. And so I actually, when I went in there, I had dinner with two of my good friends, and we called over. We ended up meeting Billy. He sat down, had a conversation with him. Their space is big. Is big enough for them.
Too.
They built a walk-in.
Yeah.
But space-wise, I don't think it's enough for.
But they're not open
share.
they open at 4, right? So like it could like during the day for pickups at least. Like
yeah, potentially. But I think.
Oh, but like in the
terms of space, right? Okay. Just because they don't operate at the same time doesn't mean that
they don't have space,
or that they do have space. Is available during that time too.
I see.
Yeah,
that makes sense.
But I think there's tons of options to think about, and it always runs through my mind.
Well, how fun! And Eeeeatscon is at the shed,
at the Salt Shed, yeah, August 23rd and 24th.
The episode I posted last week, but I put the clip out today. Ches Perry, every time I'm on the expressway going west, you see the rooftop of the Salt Shed.
Yeah,
he painted that. He painted that by hand. Yeah.
Wow. That's awesome.
So he's like one of the last, hand sign painters.
Yeah. Wait, so he painted the Morton sign?
He redid the Morton sign.
That's sick. Nice. Which, to take a second, Salt Shed's probably the best venue in the city.
The Salt Shed. I've seen outside, inside, and my wife and I are short people, so we just always get the VIP so we can just not mess. I know,
I'm
right?
Sorry for any short people out there. I'm sorry for blocking your view, but
sorry, not sorry. It's all good.
Yeah.
But every view, every spot is essentially a good spot at the Salt Shed, and just like access to everything, whether it's like bathrooms, the bar, it's like everything's.
Yeah,
they have
it's
good
also
food there.
That's what I was about to say. It's also a venue that cares about the food that they serve. Pizza-friendly pizza served there. I don't know if
Goose Island,
but like the vendors there, like make great food.
Yeah.
And you don't really see that at concert venues.
I think the only thing is parking over there.
Yeah.
But, bike or Uber. Or whatever,
luckily I live, not too far away from it, so I can just walk there. But yeah, it's a great venue. So excited about that. But we'll get an opportunity to talk to Billy even more when I'm there and kind of network there. But
is there going to be a musical act to that, or is that just kind of food?
I think it's music. I think it's I can't remember what
like Professor Pizza did that before. I don't know if he's there this year again.
Maybe, but there's some type of whether it's a panel or a discussion group.
I know that's tough.
There.
I mean, for pizza or just any vendors, when you're not used, you're outside. What's the kitchen space like? I did go to a pizza fest recently, and it was just, I don't know. It was a little of a letdown in the sense of like, I mean, the cost of entry was high. So then if you're paying this much, you have an expectation to at least get a slice from every vendor, and that wasn't the case.
Yeah.
And then what if you're waiting? You're waiting in a long line. It was at the Royal Palms.
You're going to have to wait everywhere you go.
Yeah.
Yeah. So it's tough. I mean, and this is going to be my first event.
Okay.
So there's a lot of logistics that I've never faced before, and a lot of, challenges that are unforeseen.
Yeah.
But I think I'm at the right time and to do it. And I think, it's kind of lining up to these are benchmarks that I want to hit, and this is a good time to test that out. So, I'm going there and I'm offering bagels and schmear. I'm not making sandwiches or anything like that. So it's
something you've dialed in.
Exactly. Something I've dialed in, and we're, going to try, we're not going to do any baking on site because that just prevents more, creates more challenges, and I'm not ready for that. And also the oven, I'm not going to get the product
with the pizza fest. They were baking on site.
Some people, bring their own ovens in.
Yeah.
But again, that's just not something that I want to do at this moment. But we're going to be able to do some baking off-site and then
Nice.
par bake them
Yeah.
and bring them on site to finish them in the ovens there to be
Okay.
able to get people hot, fresh bagels.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Would you have done? What if like Lollapalooza reached out?
Oof. Scary, man. I think scale wise, I just don't know if it's not the right time.
Okay.
Yeah. Like
It's good
it
that
would be
you
an
know, like
honor.
it's like what an opportunity. It's like I want to jump, but
Yeah.
like I don't know if I'm.
Well, I think I've been very methodical about this whole process and scaling process because I think the biggest issue and the biggest reason that restaurants could fail is they try to jump too quickly.
Overextend?
They try to overextend, right? They're
Okay.
taking 10 steps and they're not ready for the challenges or problems that arise at step 4, 5, 6, 7,
Sure.
right? And so you reach that 10th step by jumping from 1 and your product's going to suffer because you don't have your systems in place. You don't have, quality people that you can rely on and stuff like that. And, or you didn't test out your recipe to scale at that level. And so my whole goal with growing this is at every step, I want to make sure that the quality of the product remains the same from making a batch of 12 a dozen to 63 dozen, which I just did this past weekend.
Yeah.
So,
Wow.
And it's the same because I've taken the time to grow at a scale where I feel comfortable taking that next step. Obviously, every step you take, you're going to face challenges. But if you can minimize the risk in those challenges by not overextending yourself and it's approachable, I think that's going to lead to success. And it has. I mean, I also think that doing it part-time and, for the past year and a half has, led me to not have to rush into it.
Yeah. You can say no to things. You're
Right.
You're not similar to wedding photography. It's like I don't have to take a job that I don't want.
Yeah.
I'm not desperate for the money.
Yeah.
What a good time. It's like it's good timing then.
Yeah, definitely.
What were the main differences, or like how were you baking then? Was it out of your convection oven? Like
When I
at
started,
home? Yeah.
man, I was starting out. I did it out of my apartment.
How was the crust? I mean, like
I was doing it New York style in a convection oven, right? So
Okay.
I talked a little bit about how places that use convection ovens might put pizza stones.
so just one side, or did you flip it?
I was using bagel boards in my convection oven on a pizza stone. So
Oh,
I was
wow.
getting what I wanted, very small scale. I mean, I was only making, when I first started selling last May, I was doing Friday, Saturday, Sunday sales, and I was only able to make 36 a day.
Yeah.
And the main constraint was my fridge space. I was using my personal fridge. So, I still had to eat during the day. So part of my fridge was food that I had to eat, and part of it, the rest of it was bagels.
Yeah.
And so, I did that from May until October when I found Primo's, a customer, helped me get connected with it.
And when you first started handing them out to friends and family, like what were their initial reactions?
They loved it. I mean, I have a great support system of family and friends. And yeah, I mean, I think the first version of the bagel, right now we're on version 2. I went through an original recipe that, it was
Evolved,
good.
huh?
It evolved, right?
Yeah.
So I spent when I got let go and started making bagels, I spent the next 3.5 months just like R&D, just trying to try different recipes, see what works, what doesn't work, blending recipes, adjusting them, and finally coming up with like what I felt passionate and comfortable with putting out there.
What was the hardest thing to tweak? Was it, and what were you looking for? Were you more or less crust, more or less doughy, like the chewiness on the inside?
Yeah, I mean, I was looking for the characteristics that I was describing before, right?
Yeah.
A good crust, but that wasn't too thick. It was thin, but you can knock on it,
Yeah.
and it holds up. But when you open it, it's kind of paper thin. Volume, fluffiness to it, soft, dense but chewy, or dense and chewy but soft. All those characteristics of that New York bagel that I fell in love with, trying to kind of emulate that.
Sure.
But yeah, so spent 3.5 months kind of getting that. But my first versions, like I have 3 brothers. My second oldest brother, I'm number 3.
Okay.
So number 2 lived in the same building as me at the time.
Okay.
And so when I would bake, him and his girlfriend would be the recipients
nice.
of these bagels, as well as friends that I'd tell to come through. But even from the beginning, they were pretty good bagels. But as it evolved and developed, like they just got better. I started, I catered my brother's St. Patrick's Day party, March of 2024. And that was like, 30 people were there. And that was kind of like the hard launch of Holey dough.
Yeah.
And so, I brought 30.
And how is that though? Like, because the first time you have a stranger's reaction is different from friends and family.
Yeah, definitely. And, it's nerve wracking, right?
Yeah.
Like you put so much hard work and sweat and effort into this, and that it's good.
Yeah.
But your opinion, means something, but the opinion of others is what's going to set that off.
Yeah.
Right. And so, it was a little nerve wracking, but knowing that like I felt good about my product, not to say that I feel like I have, the best taste in food, but I know good food.
Yeah.
Growing up with good food and eating at great restaurants and stuff like that, I know good food. And so I knew what I had was good. And then when other people said it was great, like it just
let's go.
Yeah, the people pleaser in me, and the passion of making food. Like that's why I do it. I do it to get to see the people's faces and the enjoyment they get when eating something I made.
And is that part of the motivation to get a sit down brick and mortar?
Yeah, I think so. I think
because I'm sure. I guess either way they'll tag you, right? They'll tag you.
Right. I think the best part of this whole process and where I get most enjoyment out of is seeing people come to pick up their orders with the excitement on their face, oh, this is my first time, or I'm back for my 5th time, or whatever it is. It's just like everyone is excited and is enjoying what I'm putting out there, and it just makes you feel great.
And I'm sure you have. What about popping up at farmers markets? Yeah,
I've thought about it. I tried looking into getting into the Wicker Park Farmers Market.
Okay.
Logistically, there's just too many challenges right now to navigate that. I think in the future, for sure, I'll get in farmers markets. But again, like I don't have a car.
Could that be a good way to do walk-ups, like to test the walk-up model?
So that was my thought process with looking into getting into farmers markets was this would be a great opportunity for one, exposure, right? Like there's going to be a line that's formed. Everyone's going to be looking, what's this? And then, then add on top of it, everyone's reaction to the bagel is usually, if not every time, really, really good. So I think that is a great way to kind of build, but at the same time, logistically, it just presented a lot of challenges I'm not ready for at the time. Or at this moment, like again, the car situation,
so that vehicle's going to unlock a lot of things for you?
It could very much. I don't know if I really want to get like a van,
like a little transit, like a little Ford Transit.
Yeah, actually, there's this car on a side street right next to where I live, and it's just like little. It's like take a van but shrink it down into a third of the size. Yeah, and it's it's a European side driving, so it's like on the right side.
And is that heavy enough to be a commercial vehicle,
Maybe
be a business vehicle?
But it would look sick driving it.
Nice.
But I think getting an SUV or a car that can fit several hundred pounds of flour and other ingredients as I go and pick stuff up is really going to help. And also like not having to factor in waking up and calling a car, and I can just get in my car and go wherever I need. So. I think Uber and Lyft would be disappointed in me leaving, but I think it's going to be beneficial for me.
You've made waves in Chicago. And you said someone came in from Houston. Did anyone from like New York or anything like that?
So the day that Oren from Dallas, from Starship Bagel, came in, this guy, Sam, whose name on Instagram is the Bagel Ambassador. So it sounds like the guy you want coming through. He also, he puts on Bagel Fest, which I don't know if you know anything about. Cool. Nationwide competition.
Pizza Fest for with Steve Dolinsky.
Yeah, exactly. Well, not necessarily. It's more of a competition than it is.
Than just a food fest.
Yeah.
Okay.
But it's 4 bagels, so they award best bagel, which Papa Bagels won a couple times. Starship Bagel won. So a lot of people in the industry see this as like that's a great thing to be awarded.
His name's Sam?
Sam
came through?
So Sam came through with Oren. At the same time they reviewed the bagel. They both loved it and spent an hour and a half kind of just chatting with him. So Sam was coming to Chicago for James Beard Awards as well. Everywhere he goes, he's trying to look for bagels and stuff like that. So put it on an Instagram post saying, hey, I already have these places, targeted, the Tilly's, the RNAs, but let me know of anywhere else I should go. So friends of mine reached out to him. I reached out to him and said, hey, would love for you to come through. We organized it. He came through, gave him some bagels, and got really, really good feedback. So that was probably up until that point. And I think even still, those two kind of coming through and giving the validation really made me step back and be like, okay, like
you're on the right path.
I'm on the right path.
Did the feedback have you switch perspectives or change anything about it? Or
actually, Oren gave me a really good piece of advice, which was, they have together have seen several hundred pop-ups. They've been all over and seen a good amount of pop-ups. They told me that the situation I have at Pompeii is the best pop-up situation they've ever seen. The access to the equipment and the space I have. So he was like, don't rush to get out of here. Like, do what you can here, grow in here, because there's so many challenges. Like I mentioned earlier, there's so many challenges that come with owning your own space that, take advantage of this.
It also takes you away from the love, right?
Yeah, 100%. And, I think it's hard to, it's hard to want to get into something that you're passionate about, right? Because of the risk of losing the passion for it.
Yeah.
But I think when it comes down to it, as long as you are, continuing to do what you love about the business, you're going to still have that passion. Sure, you're going to have headaches from other aspects of the business. Maybe one day I let go of those. But for now, I'm trying to grow this and make something of myself and prove to myself that I can do this. Whether or not I want to is a different story. But I think if I need to give myself the opportunity to try to build this business myself before I think of like bringing somebody on to take over something else or other aspects of it. Because I think if I just give that up now and I'm just the baker, I don't feel as much of an ownership of what I'm doing, especially early days. So, yeah,
it's interesting. I would I guess push back a little bit because the only one that does all the knock knocks is you. So I think people are associating you right with the business. But I do understand how you're feeling. Oh yeah, I totally understand.
Yeah.
It doesn't having a home, right? Like having a home feels real. Before this office, you I think you asked like how I got it, but like we almost shared space out of a restaurant too.
Oh wow!
Because it was hard to find office space, and then it was a friend of a friend who helped us find it. And when you said like slowing down, I have been thinking about reminding myself to slow down as I love to dream about the next iteration.
Yeah.
We're crushing it here, and like we're not maximizing it. Like we are in our most busy season in the summertime here, maybe 4 days out of the week.
Okay.
So that leaves 3 other days.
Yeah.
And so as a classroom space, this is a blank canvas to anyone.
Yeah.
You want paint and sip? You want yoga? What do you want to teach in here? There's still things like potential that's left on the table, I guess. So it's a good reminder to slow down.
Yeah. But at the same time, like you don't want to overdo yourself or overextend yourself. I think another reason why I've grown at the scale I have is I don't want to burn out. I think the last thing I want to do is do too much that I burn out and lose my passion for it. Like I still want a day off. I still want a weekend off here and there, like to give myself some breathing space to, have a life while I try and do this. And that's the hardest part.
I helped Mitch Grotman, who I don't know if he'll do a bagel episode one day, but I help produce his podcast.
Cool.
And I think he's planning episode 3 soon, but the second episode was an all pizza episode. So Derek was sitting right there from Pauly G's, and Cecily.
I saw some clips from that. Yeah,
was sitting here, and one piece of the conversation was like Derek can have like let's say 50 people in his space in Logan, and it could still feel empty.
Yeah.
Whereas it's like almost shoulder to shoulder at Pizza Michi, and that's like 25, 30 people in there. But there's something lively and contagious about that. And there's like that. Oh, you feel like you're part of something special when the place is buzzing.
Yeah, and not to cut you off, but I think, you look at New York, right?
Yeah,
like all the restaurant spaces are tiny, right? You're sat right next to somebody, the next table over, and you feel cramped. But also at the same time, there's energy. Like it's a good vibe, and you have people, you're hearing discussions, you're hearing music being played and all that, and it's just, there's a lot going on. And when you got a big open space, like it could seem dead for sure.
Yeah, but then you have these large scale events like Friday Swim Club, and how does something like that, like, it just took a life of its own?
Yeah, and I've seen recently this, like, I don't know if it's Pilates on the beach in the morning or
that,
yoga.
And then a growing group is like screaming into the lake. Like.
I saw that too. That was pretty sick. Yeah. Which good for them.
Yeah. It's many reasons to go. Cathartic, and it's just like there's definitely some level of group bonding. I'm sure.
Yeah, but creating spaces for people to be themselves, or release and let go of whatever they got going on is great. But I think that's part of a reason why, like, I want to give myself a weekend off here and there, or a day off, because I don't want to burn out. I don't want to, like, have stuff bottle up inside and carry that forward. And so, like, taking a step back and breathing helps me, want to push forward.
That now reminds me of Chef Simon Davies, one of our recently released episodes, who's like, he has his own pop-up private dinner company called Elixir Creative. And he did 11 years at Alinea as the executive chef.
Okay.
But now that he has a pop-up kind of company, he can control when and where he wants to operate, and when he wants a vacation, turn off the reservation system, and that's it. Yeah,
I mean, I think that's another aspect of kind of staying in the pop-up method and not going to brick and mortar right now is if I did a brick and mortar, like, I need to make money in order to pay rent, because I'm open. I'd have to, be open more to pay for this rent. But if I'm in this pop-up method, like, I'm paying rent based on the hours I'm using the space. So if I don't want to work on a weekend, I don't have to pay for the space. Which is nice. So I think it has its pros for sure.
Do you have help when prepping and when baking?
Yeah. So in the early days, no, it was all me.
Sure.
Recently, over the past few months, I brought in my younger brother to learn how to roll.
Was that amicable? Was that?
Yeah.
Okay.
He's great. He's had some restaurant experience. He's worked in pizza shops. He's worked in barbecue places. But also he has a willingness to want to learn and to want to work with me. So I've taught him how to roll.
Who initiated that?
A little bit, probably me, but a little bit of both. Like, I asked if he wanted to, come in on the weekends, learn how to roll. It would help me,
On one aspect, there's trust.
Yeah.
And then on the other aspect,
100%.
they say don't mix, business with family.
Exactly. But I think, I'm not sharing the business with him. Yeah. So I think that helps a little bit where like he has a willingness to wanting to come and learn and help out. And, at first he was manning the ovens, baking the bagels while I was, boiling them. I'd hand them off. He'd bake them. And then he'd help distribute, and he loves interacting with people. He loves, being a part of that. And then it was more like, hey, do you want to be more involved? I could really use some help. I brought in one of my good friends as well to start to learn how to roll dough. But now it's just me and my brother, kind of making and I've kind of incorporated him now where he's at the point where before it was, as he's learning, I'm making an extra batch for him to practice on. I'm not selling those because it's not up to my standards.
Sure.
But now he's at the point where he's making bagels that I'm pretty pleased with in terms of rolling and how they come out with selling them. So this past weekend was actually the first weekend where he didn't do any test, bagels.
And at that point, I mean, unless they just get all dumped into a big container, but like, does he know which bagels go out? And I wonder if like he can keep track on like.
I think. No.
That's tough, right? It's just like, this person's going to get mine.
Yeah. At this point, like now, I think he's realizing that, mine and his look similar.
And sure, there's ways at the end of the day, that's an end goal, right?
Yeah,
that's the end goal.
Exactly. And again, like that built-in trust, which is, why I brought him in, why I brought my friend in at the time of, these are people who I trust my life with, that, no matter what happens, I know they're going to be there for me. They're going to support me. And when you bring in outside people that you don't know and all that, like it's a crapshoot.
Yeah.
Like you want to be able to create a culture where they can be themselves and you can feel like they can trust you and you can trust them. But people are people.
You might know the people behind Pickled Prince.
I met them.
You met them?
Yeah,
Okay,
yeah. I went up
okay.
to them at a farmer's market and met them. Great
Brian
guy.
and Alex.
Yeah.
I lived on the same floor in college as Alex.
Brian.
Yeah.
Yeah.
The Prince.
Yeah, the Prince. Yeah.
And I think
great dill pickle hot sauce, by the way.
Yeah.
Unbelievable.
Yeah, I agree. And straight up, the spears are really good too. They, and I believe the kombucha team, remember, they would say, like, when you have repeat customers at farmers markets, like they become, and you get the vibe that they are your ambassadors.
Yeah,
like,
definitely.
Without being on the job, right? And it's just like, if you ever needed to expand that team or have someone represent you at a farmer's market, like that's probably the next progression of that.
Yeah. So, I think there have been people who have been fortunate enough to be able to secure multiple orders.
Yeah.
And I've started to, get to know them. One of them, she is probably the leader in number of orders she's gotten. Again, chronically online.
Wow.
But no, she's amazing. So she came in after the fourth or fifth time, and we started chatting. And she takes photos. She's a wedding photographer on the side.
Oh,
and,
nice.
And all that, and also like a private chef as well. And so we started chatting, and I asked if she wanted to come take photos one weekend because I needed some content.
Yeah.
And she's kind of developed into my de facto photographer, right?
Nice.
So she still is able to get orders. She still gets orders. Like it's not like
I know Jake now.
Yeah. She still manages to get orders and all that, which is incredible. But yeah, I mean, I think, the kind of community that's created around these people who are able to secure multiple orders and come back and, end up getting to meet them and knowing them has been really cool. So
that's a testament to Kevin Kelly's 1,000 True Fans. So it's like, it's not really, in your best interest to try to appease everyone, but how can you acquire 1,000 true fans that'll go to bat for you every time?
Yeah, I think, and again, that's been a challenge in my mind, is as a natural people pleaser to want to do that for everybody, to want to make sure everybody can get their hands on it and all that. And but then you start to think about, you can't please everybody. Nobody's perfect.
The amount of hate that Justin and like criticism, like unfair criticism, because his shop is like it's geared. They all hire like I believe LGBTQ as well, and it's just like they got some awful remarks, and it's so unfair.
Yeah, I think I get some flack online, but I think it has a lot to do with people's failure more so than
not anything from you.
Right, exactly. Yeah. Like, everything that I've put out, I've only gotten great reviews from. I think a lot of people that I've heard from that aren't giving great compliments or, are spewing, unsatisfactory, remarks online is they failed over and over again trying to get these bagels.
Damn.
And it's just like, how much failure can one person handle? Some people see this as a game. I have friends that, have reached out to me, saying like, oh, they failed again. And in my mind, like they're close enough to where I'm like, you can just ask me. Like it's not that I have bagels to give away, but I can find a way to give to the people who support me, who are in my close circle. And they're just like, no, like I enjoy trying to get it. And I'm just like, okay, go for it. Like, I don't know why you like failure, but go for it.
No, it's all good.
But then when they get it, that feeling of like accomplishing that is, I don't know, people get off from
exactly.
that. Yeah.
Exactly. Jake, as we're approaching an hour and a half, is there anything we haven't talked about that you want to put out there?
I don't know. I mean, I think it's, I think the hardest thing of this past year and a half is, is people not really seeing the transparency behind what I've been doing. It's easy to just see what you see online and assume that, they're making tons of bagels or, they're keeping it exclusive because, they like the exclusivity factor of it and that works and all that.
What if you had like a videographer on pickup day, just do some recording while you're just meeting the guests?
I think the hardest thing has been balancing the job and bagels.
And now you can just start sprinting.
Right.
So
I have a lot of ideas of trying to up content and up transparency and be more, forward facing, because I'm still not that comfortable being forward, being in front of the camera.
Crushing it.
I appreciate it. I think, when I get going, like I'm a very personable person, but at the same time, like, having a center of attention on me isn't something I'm natural at. And, I think over time I've gotten more comfortable with it, but, I think, trying to put myself out there while having a full-time job was something I was shying away from, right? When you first reached out to me, I was like,
give me some time.
Give me some time. Like, I don't necessarily want this coming back to my full-time job because I don't want
That's fair. That's fair.
And so now that I'm at the point where, I'm in this full-time, I can put what I want into it. And also, like, I can put the exposure out there of this is what I'm doing. This is behind the scenes. I give a little glimpse of that every now and then, but it wasn't the focal point of what I was trying to do as I was growing. And so, a lot of people reaching out about, like, why don't you just open a store? Or, why can't you just make more bagels and all of that? It's just like, I'm trying the best I can, right? It's never enough, right? Like, no matter what you do, no matter how many you make, no matter what's going on, it's never enough for everybody. And I think that's been a main...
Do you put limits on orders?
Not
really.
I mean,
or I guess what's the largest order you've seen? Like, are people ordering for their friends if they make it through? It's like that's what I mean.
Are you saying, like, in
when
terms
they check
of how many?
Out, like, how many bagels? They can dip?
So I put I put a cap on each person could get one order.
Right. That's one way to make it fair.
Yeah. The goal is to get it to as many people as possible.
Yeah.
I went from 6 in an order to 4 in an order to try and get that, to squeeze out a little bit more to get
per person,
so I can get more people coming in. And then as I was able to get into commercial space, it was I'll keep that 4 because I'll be able to maximize how many people can come in.
Yeah.
And now it's, trying to increase the amounts I'm baking each week, but still trying to keep it at that order quantity. But I think it's more so just the goal is to get more transparent. One, I think people really connect with an identity of a brand.
100%.
They like seeing a story.
I think the good product or service is at its core, but the story and the person behind that
especially in this social media era of people being more transparent with their business and about their business on social media has been great. I follow this guy Barrett's Bagels up in Madison, Wisconsin. I actually had the fortune of meeting him when I went up there the other week. He puts out great content, behind the scenes stuff, thought process, and all of that. So shout out to Ben. Does great work there, and a great bagel. Did
you ask him how he does all the behind the scenes? Like, how do you have the time?
So like he, he's got a wife, 2 kids. This is kind of more his full-time job, where I think he has a little bit more of a flexibility to do it. But I think he also shared some advice of, like, you got to play the game, right? And it's not that I'm putting content out there just to get more likes and be and all that. I want people to associate themselves with this brand and feel, connected to it and try to be authentic. And I think being authentic is the best way to do it. But authentically, I'm not someone who just puts myself out there. So it's kind of working on being more comfortable doing that. Yeah, exactly. But the more I do it, the more naturally it'll come. And sometimes I think when I'm making these knock videos, like, what do I say? Like, I'm just knocking on a bagel and, like, talking a little bit, but, like, how do I change that? Right. Like, how do I make it more appealing to people? And if people have comments, let me know. But, I think people enjoy seeing the knock, the open, the steam come out. Yeah. But if you do that over and over again, it's kind of just like, it's a little repetitive.
Well, what are the conversations like, either in the comments or when they meet you and to pick up, and you kind of like help that steer the next clip?
Yeah. I don't know. I mean, I don't really get a ton of, like, comments on the videos. Like,
it's more so, it's so shareable.
Yeah, it's shareable. But when I meet people in person, you're very personable and, had a great time meeting you and stuff like that. But, it's not like I'm getting ideas from from people picking up or from
But
comments.
I think after you do this consistently enough, like it kind of gets a life of its own.
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah.
And I think it has, right? Like I did it at first because I thought it would be cool, and I saw the idea. Actually, I saw the idea from Utopia Bagels in New York, and I was like, oh, that's cool. Like I don't see anybody else here doing that, so and I don't really see many people doing that. So I'll try and make that my thing too.
Yeah.
And yeah, it's
maybe
caught
a
on.
little rip and dip. I don't know.
Yeah.
I don't know. Just like how would you like? What are different ways to eat it? I don't know. Just start playing with it.
Yeah.
you know?
So I think giving the time and attention that the marketing side deserves is something I'm going to be able to do more now, and something I'm excited about. So yeah, but other than that, I think just keep spreading the word. The goal is to have a brick and mortar one day. The goal is to give people the bagels they deserve and whenever they deserve them.
Shit, what if you become like the bagel vendor at Wrigley?
That'd be sick. That's a goal. I mean, like I'm jealous of Steingold's having that location right across from Wrigley.
Right,
and like,
right,
you know,
right.
I'm a diehard Cubs fan. So
And their factory's on the west side.
they have they have their
okay.
like their warehouse that's on the west side, but they have a location right there.
Okay.
So, but yeah, I mean,
Because Hot Doug's is in Wrigley, I believe.
Are they?
I believe so. Like years after they gave up their brick and mortar.
Yeah.
I think, I don't know if they still do. I mean, but I think Wrigley cares about the food that the food vendors they provide.
Yeah, definitely. But yeah, I think one day that'd be sick. But
or back to Cali. I don't know.
We'll see. I think I want to establish getting the people of Chicago the bagels that they deserve before moving out there.
Yeah.
LA's had a big like revolution as well. I think bagels in
For
general just
food
are
or
for
bagels? For
yeah,
bagels?
I mean Courage
Okay.
Bagels, Layla Bagels.
You're
There's
very
a couple
plugged
other,
in.
Yeah, I mean
Good. You gotta be.
kind of got to
Yeah,
be. But
yeah.
yeah, I think working on Chicago and getting people to stop thinking that Chicago doesn't have good quality bagels. I'm
Nice.
hoping that my goal of all this and has been to be the reason that people stop.
Is there
saying that.
meeting Sam from New York? Are you gonna are there talks of like doing that competition?
Yeah. I mean, he invited me out there to check it out. You know,
Okay.
it's a great networking event, and maybe who knows next year. I'm invited to participate, but at this point, it's just kind of keeping the journey going and taking every opportunity to meet people and network and see what I can learn from them.
Sure.
But yeah, also I wouldn't be here if it weren't for the support system I have and the friends and family and the people who, my friends and family that have come and help out on the weekends. Like it was obviously working a full-time job and doing this on the weekends. Like you're working 7 days a week and it's hard to find time in your week to be social and keep up with your friends and family and maintain those relationships. So like I saw it as an opportunity on bake days to bring people in.
Nice.
So that way
Catch up and
I can
get
catch
some
up
work
and
done,
and I can get some labor for some bagels.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's I wouldn't be here without
they're
them
part of
as
something
well.
special.
Yeah, definitely. So yeah, I mean, just gonna keep going at this and see how far it can go. And it's been pretty organic from the start, and it's been the most rewarding thing that I've done. And is the reason why I wake up at 3 a.m. I did that yesterday. As tired as I am and as hard as it can be to live a baker's lifestyle, like
There's got to be something peaceful to the fact that you're awake when no one else is awake.
a little bit, yeah. It also can be a little scary too with what happens in Chicago during the wee hours of the morning.
Yeah.
But try not to think about it. And but yeah, I think starting your day early definitely has a good feeling to it. You're accomplishing a lot when most people are sleeping, and I think that's really cool. But yeah, I mean, the reactions of the people and how well this is done is what keeps me going, and what keeps me driving, and hopefully it doesn't stop. So
doesn't sound like it.
Yeah.
Where can people find you?
At Holey Dough & Co. On Instagram. I'm on TikTok as well. As much as I'm not a TikTok guy, I'm on it. Working on building out the website.
Okay.
I have a website. It's not really active. Working on putting together a newsletter as well so people can find stuff.
Would you be open to wholesaling?
Yeah, I think the challenging part is just like the amount that I make right now.
It's still the cold storage space.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. It's just like I don't make enough right now to have that worth it. But like during the weeks, like I'm starting to think of ideas of how I can, do that. Like I'll have free days during the week.
Is there rentable cold space?
I don't know. That's a good idea. But the hard part is like you kind of need to do it all on site, right? Like you got to mix the dough, you got to roll the dough, and then you got to store it. And it's hard to like take it from point A to point B if it's not right there for you. But again, there's so many things to think about, and there's so many like steps to take that trying to narrow the focus and just kind of attack one path is the goal right now.
Sure.
But I mean, I'm excited about what's next.
Solid head on your shoulders.
Yeah, appreciate it.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Jake, thank you. That was. I think if the goal was transparency, you were very transparent. You're
Awesome.
you're a very like easy person to talk to. And I look forward to attempting. Thanks for bringing bagels, but attempting the weekly pickup as soon as my Sunday's free up. Is Sunday's the only day at the moment? Or
Sunday's the only day.
Okay,
I'm working towards getting to do Saturday and Sunday.
Okay.
So hopefully that's in the next month and a half, 2 months, and get more bagels. More
it's
people.
fun. It is a game.
Yeah.
And we'll keep shooting for it. But everyone, thanks for tuning in. We will catch you in the next episode. Bye.